Hello everyone, and my dear subscribers. So, the DPS meter update in Trision is going to allow me to try different engravings and builds, which makes it super easy for me to demonstrate. Every class in Lost Ark has 2 class engravings which can completely change the style of the gameplay. Here is a comparison of the 2 class engravings for Gunlancers. The Lonely Knight class engraving basically uses the lance to attack, putting more weight on the DPS and less on tanking, when Combat Stance class engraving uses his shield to attack, putting more emphasis on defense and slightly less on the DPS. With the different style class engravings, how to set up the combat stat is going to be affected also. As you can see in the Lonely Knight engraving, the amount of critical chance / damage increase is huge, meaning you want high stats for critical. Whereas for Combat Stance engraving, you need high specialty because the specialty effects for Gunlancer is as shown here. Before we jump into the in-depth explanation of each class engraving styles, I would like to take a moment to talk about the 4 commonly used skills for both types of Gunlancer. Hateful Cry daunts the boss to cancel its pattern and turn its head towards the Gunlancer. There is also 12% head / back attack damage party buff, so use of this skill can act as a signal for all party members to do some burst DPS on the enemy. An example of good timing to use Hateful Cry would be when the enemy is about to do an attack which leaves party members busy dodging enemy AoEs. Bad timing will be when a class like Deadeye finally found an opening to get enemies back for some shotgun damage, and if you've turned them around with a daunt skill. Bash. Bash is usually used as a sequence after Hateful Cry to apply 12% enemy defense debuff and 5 seconds of 25% self-attack buff. Let's compare the damage difference of using Burst Cannon followed by Charge Stinger without the sequence and then with the sequence. So, the combination of these 2 skills is an ideal way to start the DPS cycle, but you shouldn't force yourself to follow the sequence for every single DPS cycle, as the skill cooldown of Hateful Cry is 30 seconds and Bash is 10 seconds. Another common skill for a Gunlancer is the Counter Spear, which provides a single shield for one enemy AoE only, and then counter attacks. This skill doesn't need a lot of skill points. I can choose to insert this in my skills with either 0, 4, 7 mastery. At last but not least, there is Nelasia, the party defense buff skill, which is very commonly used for both types of Gunlancers. But Lonely Knight sometimes leaves it out and puts an extra DPS skill in the slot. Oh, and the Judgment Spear is the preferred awakening skill of the 2, as it does more damage and it gives 10% critical chance increase for allies in the AoE. Since we've talked about the 4 commonly used skills for Gunlancers, let's get into the details of the 2 class engraving styles. First, the Lonely Knight. The main DPS skill for Lonely Knight are Burst Cannon and Charge Stinger. So these 2 are the skills a user would want to use after the Daunt Bash sequence. Then there are the fillers such as Dash Upper Fire, which is a superb counter skill by the way, and Fire Bullet or Spear Shot. All of the lance skills I just mentioned has head attack perks, so try to turn on the Gunlancer's identity shield by pressing Z key to keep you from getting knocked back by enemies' attacks. Also, the skills such as Burst Cannon, Charge Stinger, and Spear Shot are charging skills, so I highly recommend using the Supercharge engraving to speed up the charging and inflict more damage on the enemies. Recommended engravings for a Lonely Knight Gunlancer is as follows. And these are the popular skill trees and tripod effects. Next, let's talk about the combat stance Gunlancer. I have an item level 14-15 combat stance Gunlancer, and in my opinion, this build for Gunlancer is perfect if you would like to make an ult. I'm not saying the combat stance is not good to main, but I just think they are superb as an ult to support for your main. Because they are cheaper to set up than Lonely Warrior, then they consume very little potions. Since I went over most of the things about combat stance earlier in the video, I'll try to go over the points which I haven't covered. So this is how I set up my attributes. I have a little bit of critical, focus mostly on specialty, and a little bit on agility because 0 agility is too slow. However, this could change depending on various conditions. For example, some relic equipment set effects are attack/movement speed increased by 10%. Then I would get rid of agility and probably focus on the specialty. So the skill sequence of combat stance is similar to the Lonely Knight. First the Daunt, then Bash, and then Guardian's Lightning to leap attack or shield charge. As you can probably tell, the major DPS skills of combat stance Gunlancer are Guardian's Lightning, leap attack, and shield charge. And as filler skills, you can take dash upper fire for counter attack or shield shock. Shield shock is also a good skill because it has 12% enemy defense debuff as well as decent amount of damage. And now, here are the recommended engravings for combat stance Gunlancer. And the tripods for the skills are as follows. That pretty much covers what I wanted to explain about the Gunlancer class. But before we wrap things up, I would like to ask for your opinion about which community platform I should use, as I would like to share short tips, tripods, and maybe some updates. I was thinking about Blogger, but I don't know if people actually use that. It would be nice if I post some simple tips in the community so you don't have to go through the video to search for a page worth of information, right? Well, that's all I have for this video. Thanks for watching. Until next time, bye bye.